My name is Ethan Cole, I'm 34 years old, and the day my life fell apart didn't start with a scream or a fight. It started quietly, almost too quietly. The front door of my apartment was slightly open when I got home. At first, I thought maybe I'd forgotten to close it in the morning. It happens, right? You're rushing, late for work, coffee in one hand, keys in the other. But something felt off. The air inside was colder than usual, like the place had been holding its breath, waiting for me. I stepped in slowly. Lena. I called out. No answer. My girlfriend of 5 years should have been home. Her car was parked outside. Her shoes were still by the door, exactly where she always left them, slightly tilted like she kicked them off without caring. But the silence, it wasn't normal. I walked further in, my heartbeat starting to pick up. The living room looked untouched. No signs of struggle. No mess. Just the faint scent of her perfume lingering in the air, like a ghost of something that had already left. Then I noticed it. The drawer. The second drawer of my desk was open. I froze. I never leave that drawer open. Never. Slowly, I walked toward it, each step heavier than the last. My mind started racing, maybe she was looking for something. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe I'm overthinking. But deep down, I knew. I reached the desk and looked inside. The envelope was gone. My stomach dropped instantly. That envelope wasn't just paper. It was something my father had given me before he died. Something he made me promise never to show anyone. Not even Lena. Especially not Lena. A chill ran down my spine. Lena. I called again, louder this time. Still nothing. That's when I heard it. A faint sound from the bedroom. Not movement. Not footsteps. A whisper. My heart slammed against my chest as I slowly turned toward the hallway. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to leave, to walk out, to pretend I never came home. But I couldn't. I moved forward, step by step, until I reached the bedroom door. It was slightly open. Of course it was. I pushed it gently. And what I saw on the bed made my blood run cold. Lena wasn't alone. She was sitting there, perfectly still, holding the envelope in her hands, staring at it like she'd just uncovered the truth of the universe. And behind her, someone else was standing. Watching me. Smiling. That's when I realized. This wasn't a break-in. This was planned. And I had just walked straight into it. I couldn't move. For a moment, time itself felt frozen, like the world had paused just to watch what I would do next. Lena slowly lifted her eyes from the envelope and looked at me. But it wasn't the same look I'd known for 5 years. There was no warmth, no panic, no guilt. Just calm. Cold, unsettling calm. You weren't supposed to be home this early, Ethan, she said softly. Her voice sent a shiver down my spine. I opened my mouth to speak, but nothing came out at first. My throat felt dry, like I'd swallowed dust. Who is that? I finally managed, my voice barely above a whisper. The man behind her chuckled. It wasn't loud. It wasn't aggressive. It was controlled. Confident. Like he already knew he had the upper hand. You didn't tell him, the man said, tilting his head slightly as he looked at Lena. She sighed, almost annoyed. I was going to, she replied. Just not like this. My heart pounded harder. What the hell is going on, Lena? I snapped, finally finding my voice. Why do you have that envelope? And who is he? She stood up slowly, still holding the envelope like it belonged to her. He's someone who understands what this is, she said, lifting it slightly. Something you clearly never did. Anger flared inside me. That was my father's. I shouted. You had no right, your father, the man interrupted, stepping forward into the light. Now I could see him clearly. Tall. Well-dressed. Calm eyes that studied me like I was a problem already solved. Your father, he repeated, almost amused. Is exactly why we are here. A cold wave washed over me. What are you talking about? Lena walked past me, heading toward the door, like none of this was a big deal. He's talking about the truth, she said casually. Something your father worked very hard to keep from you. I turned toward her, disbelief flooding my mind. You're working with him? I asked. She stopped at the doorway, but didn't turn around. I'm not working with him, she said. A pause. Then she looked over her shoulder. I'm working against you. The words hit harder than anything else. What? I breathed. The man stepped closer now, just a few feet away from me. You've been living a lie, Ethan, he said. That envelope. It's not just some sentimental memory. It's a key. A key to what? I demanded. He smiled again. To something people would kill for. My chest tightened. That doesn't make any sense, I said. My father was just a regular man. No, Lena cut in sharply. He wasn't. Silence filled the room again. Heavy. Suffocating. I looked between them, my mind struggling to catch up. If you think I'm just going to stand here and let you take it, you're crazy, I said, trying to sound stronger than I felt. The man's expression didn't change. In fact, he looked almost disappointed. You don't really have a choice, he said calmly. And that's when I felt it. Cold metal pressed against the back of my head. My entire body went still. A voice, low, unfamiliar, whispered from behind me, "Don't move." My breath caught. There was someone else in the apartment. And I hadn't even noticed. Lena looked at me one last time, her expression unreadable. I'm sorry, Ethan, she said. But her eyes told a different story. She wasn't sorry at all. And deep down, I realized something terrifying. This wasn't just betrayal. This was the beginning of something much bigger. Something I was never supposed to survive. The cold metal at the back of my head didn't move. Neither did I. Every muscle in my body locked as my brain raced, trying to piece together what was happening. My apartment, my safe place, had turned into something else entirely. A trap. Good, the man in front of me said calmly. Now we can talk properly. I swallowed hard. You've got about 10 seconds before I stop listening and start fighting. It was a bluff. And judging by the faint smirk on his face, he knew it. I admire the spirit, he replied. But let's not pretend you're in control here. Lena stepped closer again, holding the envelope carefully, almost respectfully now. You always wondered why your father was so secretive, didn't you? She asked. I didn't answer. Because she was right. Growing up, my father had always been distant. Careful with his words. Protective in a way that never quite made sense. And that envelope. He gave it to me on his deathbed. Don't open it unless you have to, he'd said. And never let anyone else see it. I thought it was just grief talking. I was wrong. What's inside it? I asked quietly. The man and Lena exchanged a look. Then, without another word, she opened it. My heart started pounding again. Wait, don't, I began, but it was too late. She pulled out a folded document and a small, metallic object that clinked softly as it hit the table beside her. A key. But not a normal key. It was old. Heavy. covered in strange engravings that looked more like symbols than letters. "What is that?" I whispered. "This," the man said, stepping closer and picking it up, "is access." "Access to what?" I demanded. "To everything your father left behind." My head spun. "That doesn't mean anything." "It will," Lena said softly. "Once you understand who your father really was." I shook my head. "No. He was just a liar," she cut in. The word hit like a slap. "A man who built his life on secrets," she continued. "Who hid things. Dangerous things." My chest tightened. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Don't I?" she said, her eyes locking onto mine. "Then why were people watching you, Ethan?" My blood ran cold. "What?" The man smiled again, slower this time. "You didn't notice," he said. "The same car parked down the street for 3 nights in a row. The calls that hung up when you answered." I thought back. The car. The calls. I'd brushed it off. Told myself I was imagining things. "You were already part of this," Lena said. "You just didn't know it." I felt like the ground beneath me was collapsing. "No, no, that's not possible." "Oh, it is," the man replied. "Your father made sure of that." He turned the key in his hand, examining it like it was priceless. "Tell me, Ethan," he added. "Did he ever mention a place called Black Hollow?" The name sent a strange jolt through me. A memory. Faint, distant. A warning whispered years ago. "Stay away from Black Hollow." I had been 10 years old. I never forgot it. And now. Now it was back. "I'm not going anywhere with you," I said firmly, trying to regain some control. The man's smile faded slightly. "That's unfortunate." He nodded toward the person behind me. The pressure of the gun shifted. Then, everything went dark. The last thing I heard was Lena's voice, distant and fading. "Don't hurt him, we still need him." And in that moment, before consciousness slipped away completely, one thought echoed in my mind. My father didn't just leave me a secret. He left me a target. Pain. That was the first thing I felt when I woke up. A dull, throbbing ache pulsing through the back of my head, like I shifted slightly, testing the ropes. Tight. Whoever tied me knew exactly what they were doing. Awake already. Lena's voice. I looked up. She stood in the doorway, leaning casually against the frame like this was just another normal day. Like I wasn't tied to a chair in some abandoned nightmare. "Where am I?" I asked, my voice rough. She stepped inside slowly. "Somewhere important," she said. "That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting for now." I clenched my jaw. "Untie me." She almost smiled. "Not a chance." Footsteps echoed behind her. The man entered next, calm as ever, adjusting his sleeves like he was preparing for a meeting instead of whatever this was. "Welcome back, Ethan," he said. "I was beginning to think we'd hit you a little too hard." I glared at him. "You should have hit harder." He chuckled softly. Still defiant. "I like that." "Cut the act," I snapped. "Tell me where I am." He paused. Then he said it. "You're in Black Hollow." The name hit me like a shockwave. My stomach tightened instantly. "No," I whispered. Memories flooded back, fragments of my childhood. My father's voice. His warnings. The way he would shut down any conversation the moment that name came up. "Stay away from Black Hollow, Ethan. Promise me." I had promised. And now I was here. "What is this place?" I asked, my voice quieter now. The man walked slowly around me, like he was inspecting something valuable. "It's where your father's story really begins," he said. "And where yours might end." I turned my head, trying to follow him. "You're lying," I said. "He hated this place." Lena stepped closer. "No," she said gently. "He feared it." There was a difference. And I could feel it. "Why bring me here?" I asked. The man stopped in front of me again, holding the key between his fingers. "Because this doesn't work without you," he said. I frowned. "It's just a key." "Not just any key." He leaned closer. "It needs blood." A chill ran through my entire body. "What?" "Your blood," Lena added quietly. I stared at her in disbelief. "You're insane." "Maybe," she said. "But we are also right." The man straightened up again. "Your father locked something away here," he explained. "Something he couldn't destroy, so he hid it instead." "And now you want it," I said. "Yes. And you think I'm just going to help you?" He smiled. "You already are." Before I could react, he nodded toward someone behind me. Hands grabbed my arm tightly. I struggled instantly. "Get off me." But it was useless. Something sharp pressed against my skin. "No, wait." A sudden sting. I gritted my teeth as blood began to drip down my wrist. The man held the strange key beneath it, letting the drops fall onto its surface. For a second, nothing happened. Then, the engravings on the key began to glow. A deep, unnatural light pulsing through the metal. The room fell silent. Even Lena looked surprised. And that's when I realized something terrifying. Whatever my father had hidden here, it was real. And we had just unlocked the first piece of it. The glow from the key wasn't normal. It pulsed like it was alive. I stared at it, my breathing uneven, as the strange symbols carved into its surface lit up one by one, each marking flickering with a deep, crimson hue, like it was feeding off the blood still dripping from my wrist. "What is that?" I whispered. Even the man looked slightly taken aback now. "For something hidden this long," he said slowly, "I expected resistance, not recognition." "Recognition?" I snapped. "It's reacting like it knows me." Lena didn't say anything. But her expression had changed. There was no confidence now. No control. Just uncertainty. And maybe, fear. "Untie me," I said again, more urgently this time. "If you don't understand what this is, you shouldn't be messing with it." The man ignored me. Instead, he turned toward the far side of the room, toward a wall that looked no different from the others. Old wood. Cracked. Lifeless. "Bring it here," he ordered. The person behind me stepped forward, taking the glowing key from his hand carefully, like it might burn. "Wait, stop!" I shouted. "You don't know what you're doing." But it was too late. The moment the key got close to the wall, something shifted. A low, grinding sound echoed through the room. The wooden wall trembled, dust falling from its surface as faint lines began to appear, thin at first, then deeper, forming shapes. Symbols. The same ones on the key. My heart started pounding again. "No way," I muttered. The wall wasn't a wall. It was a door. A hidden door. One that had been sealed for years, maybe decades. And now, it was opening. The wood split down the middle with a sharp crack, revealing darkness behind it. Not just shadow, but something deeper. Heavier. Like the light itself didn't want to go inside. A cold wind rushed out from within, carrying a smell I couldn't describe. Old. Rotten. Forgotten. Everyone in the room stepped back instinctively. Everyone except the man. His eyes lit up with something dangerous. Excitement. Well, he said quietly. Looks like your father was full of surprises. This isn't right, Lena said under her breath. It was the first time she sounded unsure. We should stop, she added. The man didn't even look at her. No, he said firmly. We are too close now. I pulled against the ropes again, ignoring the pain in my wrists. Listen to her. I shouted. If my father locked something in there, there was a reason. He turned to me slowly. And now we are going to find out what that reason was. Before I could say anything else, he nodded toward the others. Untie him. I froze. What? You're coming with us, he said. After all, this place seems to respond to you. The ropes were cut quickly, my arms falling free, numb and aching. I rubbed my wrists, trying to get the feeling back. This is a mistake, I said, standing up slowly. You have no idea what you're walking into. Neither do you, Lena replied quietly. Our eyes met. For a second, just a second. I saw something in her expression. Regret. But it vanished just as quickly. The man stepped toward the open doorway, staring into the darkness like it was calling him. Stay close, he said. And don't touch anything unless I say so. I let out a bitter laugh. Yeah, I muttered. That's definitely not going to go wrong. No one responded. Because deep down, we all knew the truth. Whatever was waiting behind that door wasn't meant to be found. And yet, one by one, we stepped inside anyway. The darkness inside wasn't normal. It swallowed the light. The moment we stepped through the doorway, it felt like the world behind us had been cut off completely. The single bulb from the room outside barely reached a few inches in, then vanished, like something inside was consuming it. Stay close, the man said again, his voice lower now. Even he sounded different. Less confident. I moved carefully, my eyes struggling to adjust. The air here was colder, sharp against my skin, filling my lungs with something that didn't feel right. Not toxic. Just wrong. A faint glow began to form ahead of us. Soft at first. Then stronger. Blue? The walls, if you could call them that, started to reveal themselves. Not wood anymore. Not anything normal. Stone. Ancient stone. Covered in the same symbols that were carved into the key. This place, Lena whispered. It's not just a hiding spot. No, I said quietly. It's something else. We moved deeper. Each step echoed, but not in the way it should. The sound didn't bounce back naturally, it lingered, stretched, like something was replaying it just a second too late. Then we saw it. At the center of the chamber. A structure. Tall. Circular. Almost like a well, but sealed. Chains wrapped tightly around it, crossing over each other in complex patterns. Each chain had those same glowing symbols etched into them, faintly pulsing like a heartbeat. My heart sank. That's it, I said under my breath. That's what he locked away. The man stepped closer, his eyes fixed on it. This is incredible, he murmured. No, Lena said quickly. This is wrong. He ignored her again. Get the key, he ordered. One of the others handed it to him, the glow still faint but steady. Don't, I said firmly. You've seen enough. This isn't something you can control. He turned toward me. Control, he repeated. This is power. That's what everyone thinks before they lose everything. For a moment, we just stared at each other. Then he smiled. I'm willing to take that risk. Of course he was. He stepped toward the chain structure and raised the key. The symbols on the chains reacted instantly, glowing brighter, pulsing faster. "No!" I shouted, stepping forward. "Stop!" But Lena grabbed my arm. "Wait," she whispered. "Wait for what?" Her grip tightened. "Look." I followed her gaze. The chains weren't just reacting. They were resisting. The glow from the key clashed with the symbols on the chains, like two forces pushing against each other. The ground beneath us started to tremble. A low, deep sound echoed through the chamber. Not mechanical. Not natural. Something else. Something alive. The man hesitated for the first time. "What is this?" he muttered. "I told you," I said, my voice shaking now. "It was never meant to be opened." The chains rattled violently. One of them snapped. The sound was deafening. Then another. And another. The glow in the room shifted, blue turning into something darker, something red. The air grew heavier. Harder to breathe. Lena stepped back, fear now clear on her face. "We need to go," she said. "Now?" But it was too late. The last chain broke. The structure cracked down the middle. And from inside, something moved. Not fast. Not sudden. Slow. Deliberate. Like it had been waiting. Waiting for this exact moment. A deep, distorted sound filled the chamber, something between a breath and a growl. My entire body froze. And in that instant, I understood why my father had never tried to destroy it. Because whatever was inside that prison was never meant to be touched. And now, it was free. The sound that came from inside the broken structure. It wasn't human. It wasn't anything I could understand. It echoed through the chamber like a distorted whisper layered over a growl, low, ancient, and filled with something that made my chest tighten in pure instinctive fear. No one moved. No one breathed. We just stood there, staring. Then it stepped out. Slowly. A shadow at first, tall, shifting, almost unstable. Like it couldn't decide what shape it wanted to hold. The red glow in the room bent around it, warping, stretching. And then it looked at me. Not at the man. Not at Lena. At me. My blood ran cold. "Ethan," Lena whispered. "Why is it looking at you?" I didn't answer. Because I already knew. The key. My blood. This thing, it recognized me. Or worse, it belonged to me. The man stepped forward despite everything, his fear buried under obsession. "What are you?" he demanded. The entity didn't respond. It didn't even acknowledge him. It took another slow step forward, the ground beneath it cracking softly with each movement. Then, suddenly, it stopped. Right in front of me. I couldn't move. Couldn't speak. It leaned closer, and I felt something press against my mind, not physical, not visible, but there. A presence. Searching. And then a voice. Not heard. Felt. Blood of the keeper, my breath caught. "No," I whispered. "I didn't choose this." The presence pulsed again. Stronger this time. Bound by legacy. Behind me, I heard the man shout, his patience finally breaking. "Do something. Control it." I let out a bitter laugh, my eyes still locked on the thing in front of me. "Control it," I said quietly. "You still don't get it." I turned slightly, just enough to look at him. "This isn't something you control. It's something you contain." His expression shifted. Confusion. Then realization. Then fear. "Kill him," he yelled suddenly. If it's tied to him, kill him. Everything happened at once. A gunshot rang out. Lena screamed. But the bullet never reached me. It stopped mid-air. Frozen. Suspended like time itself had been cut. The entity didn't move. It didn't need to. The bullet dropped to the ground with a soft metallic sound. Silence followed. Heavy. Final. Then the thing turned its attention to him. The man took a step back. For the first time since I'd seen him, he looked powerless. "Wait," he said, his voice breaking slightly. He never finished. The shadows around the entity surged forward like a wave. Fast. Violent. They wrapped around him instantly, lifting him off the ground as he screamed, a sound that echoed, then cut off abruptly. Gone? Just like that. The room fell still again. The remaining people ran. They didn't look back. They didn't try to fight. They just ran. Lena stayed. Of course she did. She looked at me, her eyes filled with something I hadn't seen before. Not betrayal. Not confidence. But regret. "I didn't know," she said softly. "I swear. I didn't know it would be like this." I believed her. But it didn't change anything. "Neither did my father," I replied. The entity shifted again, its presence easing slightly. Not gone. Just waiting. "What happens now?" Lena asked. I looked at the broken chains. At the open prison. At the thing that should have never been free. Then I looked back at her. "Now?" I said quietly. I stepped forward. Toward it. "Now I fix what he couldn't." The air grew heavier as I reached out, my hand trembling. The entity didn't resist. It watched. Waited. As my fingers touched the glowing symbols. Pain exploded through my body. But I didn't pull away. I couldn't. Because deep down, I understood the truth. This wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of mine. And the price was already mine to pay.